Hello and welcome to Bottom Line, a show that gets to the base of the key issues that have created news in the last 24 hours or less. After 7 long years, finally justice for Nirbhaya's family. All four, Pawan Gupta, Vinay Sharma, Akshay Kumar and Mukesh Kumar, convicted for Nirbhaya's gang rape and murder, were hanged to death in Delhi's Tihar jail early this morning. While justice delayed is usually termed as justice denied, Nirbhaya's family members were nevertheless happy that finally the rapists, the killers, had been hanged. However, as everyone may agree, this is definitely not the end of the matter, the end of the issue. A bigger question still haunts every Indian. Why did it take so long to punish these rapists, these murderers? While we still talk of fast-track courts dealing with rape cases, why did the most high-profile case in the country for the last 7 years take so long to close? We have more questions. To take the discussion forward, I'm being joined in the studios by Mr. Burhanur Rahman, Advocate, Guwahati High Court. From Imphal, Manipur, I'm being joined by women's rights activist Noni Balat. Welcome. Thank you so much, both of you, for being on this discussion. I'll come straight to you, Mr. Rahman, since you are practicing in the Guwahati High Court. For a layman, the biggest question and the most common question everybody in this country has been asking for the last few months is that why did it take so long? Why delay after delay every time? Could it have been possibly avoided, or there was no way because there may be some, we can call it loopholes or procedures that we need to follow?
See, as far as the legal procedures are concerned in this country, we have certain set rules that you have to follow. So, in case of this incident, we had to basically follow certain rules under CRPC. There are provisions under IPC, and the starting point of any trial is that you have to engage a particular lawyer, and if somebody is poor enough, then even there is a provision by the state to provide such lawyers. And once the lawyers are provided, then all the documents are supplied to that particular lawyer, and thereafter the cognizance is taken, and then charges are also framed. Thereafter, the process is that the evidence are produced, and under 313 CRPC, the accused are also given the opportunity to give their stand or put their stand before the court, and finally after that the hearing will happen, and thereafter the judgment will be delivered by the court. So, of course, it's a long process, but in case of capital punishment, there is another special provision, which is that if a person is held as, if the capital punishment is imposed to a particular person, that has to be confirmed by the respective high court, and that too by a division court, division bench of that particular high court. And thereafter, still there are other provisions given to the accused. For example, they can appeal to the Supreme Court, and even after Supreme Court also, you will be given an opportunity to file review in the Supreme Court against that dismissal of that appeal. And finally, the curative petition can be filed. A review provision is there under Article 137 of the Constitution, and curative provisions is not there in Constitution, but there is a 2002 judgment by the Supreme Court which says that curative petition can also be filed as the last resort. Now, and even after that, you have the provision to file the mercy petition before the Honorable President of India under Article 72, and also under Article 161 before the Governor of the respective state. So, therefore, our constitution and other legal provisions are there. So, it's a long run process, and everyone has to travel from point A to say point Z. And because this is after all a capital punishment, the punishment is irreversible in nature. So, therefore, the time which is consumed is, I think, something which is you cannot avoid this, because there are certain procedures that you have to follow. So, I cannot say that you can do it.
Did you also notice some deliberate delaying tactics also applied? For instance, not everyone would apply for a review at the same time, take turns so that it is lingered, and these are deliberate tactics.
That's right. In this case, there are 4 accused. So therefore, what they have done is that they have actually, adhered upon a very calculative move, saying, because there is another Supreme Court judgment which says that if there are more than one accused, then you have to, hang them together. So the difficulty lies there. So it's a kind of loophole probably. So government has to come up with the new rule or regulation which can, if you are sure about a one person's conviction, and after that, if all the legal things are over, then probably you can segregate that person and impose the capital punishment if that is so. So that is something which is left to the domain of the legislature, and they have to ponder about it and they have to think about this issue, because there is it's a kind of eye opener to them. So probably they have to think and take a call on this.
Well, Nonibala, after all the talk that we have of delivering justice at the earliest when it comes to a rape victim, this is what we have today. One of the worst cases in the country probably, and it took 7 long years, over 7 years, for justice to be served. What does this say?
I think this justice is not the first one. I mean, like, this incident of gang rape is not the first one, and it's not going to be the last one. But this delay is such a long time. It takes a long time, and the service delivery systems in India is really taking lots of time, and the security and yes, it may say that the convicts have been hanged, but it gives a kind of, people are fed up with the, when people are really fed up with the service delivery systems. So I think if we knew that Delhi gang rape have given a spark in the country for judiciary, for a nationwide protest, but not the first and last incident. But it led to the landmark, it also led to the landmark reform of sexual violence in 2013. But I think this incident is giving a different notions where as a women activist, the question that we have in our mind and in our thought is that when the 4 convicts were hanged today morning, is it going to be the last one, or can we assure that women in the country are safe? And can we also ensure that women and children in the country are secure? How far are we secure in our own country, in our own home? Because when we talk about rape happens inside the house by so many by many different people whom the victim knows. So this gives a lots of different mixed feeling, especially to many people. Many people are feeling happy because they feel that justice had been done to the Nirbhaya case in specific.
But will this be the last one? Will this be the last case? That is the big question that everyone
No, this is not going to be the last one, because it is not going to be the last one, because why I'm telling this is because since 2012, people have been demanding that this rapist should be hanged. And this judiciary has been keeping on postponing the final verdict for these 4 accused, the rapists. But in between, it also happened that in Haryana very recently, one Dalit woman was brutally gang raped and murdered. Again in Manipur, we also have very recently, in the last week, we have a 4 persons gang rape a woman. So it's not going to end. It doesn't end here. It's not going to end here. The question arises here is the whole issue of patriarchy, whole issue of mindset, that the kind of that outlook that we are looking towards the section of women and children.
We will come to that, Mr.
That's more important because because why the question is how we have also hanged Dhananjoy Chatterjee for raping a girl in Kolkata, but it didn't stop there. It's not going to stop. The concern is how many people we are going to hang, because the more question, we are more concerned about our own security, our own safety, in our own home, in our own street, in our own hometown. That's more concern for us at the moment.
That is the bigger
but
question.
anyway,
Yes.
Nirbhaya's case is a very landmark case, and we feel that many people feel that justice has been done at last. But well, justice also has to be defined from different corners.
Absolutely. Mr. Rahman, you know, this has been the most high-profile case in the country for years now, for at least close to a decade, if we can say. And you know, a case like this takes so much time, and we have been all along talking about fast-tracking rape cases, setting up a fast-track courts. But clearly, there are enough, if we can call them quote-unquote loopholes within the current system, which allows the convicts, you know, to survive, if you can say, because there's a capital punishment, there's a case of capital punishment, to survive for 7.5 years. Clearly, something somewhere is wrong that needs to be rectified. Would you agree?
That's right. Well, I would like to give certain instances as far as this particular matter is concerned. For example, the trial, and as far as the High Court stage was concerned, that was, well, you know, it's over probably within a very reasonable time. But the main delay that happened in this matter is that once the appeal was dismissed by the Supreme Court, then as far as these 4 accused are concerned, they took long time to file the review. Normally what happened, the period of review is only for within 30 days you have to file it. Thereafter, I think it was up to the government concerned to take a decision and, you know, and fix a date, because the prosecutor has to do it, for issuing the death warrant. They did not do it. They ideally slept over the whole period, and after 186 days, the first accused filed a review petition that was dismissed. Thereafter 155 days, the second and the third accused, they filed a review petition, and finally the last person, he filed a review after the delay of some 950 days. So where were the state during this period? They could have very easily approached the trial court and get the death warrant issued against that person, because there was no embargo during that period. What stopped them from getting that death warrant from the concerned trial court? So the main delay is actually lying during that period. And I think that this is a very high profile case. This should have been done in a better manner, and it should have you know, managed it in a better way. Now, that could have in fact saved lots of time, but they did not do it. So that was the whole issue, because, you know, there are certain provisions you have to follow it, and review, if the review provision is there, if the curative provision is there, if the mercy petitions provisions are there, all these things have to be exhausted, because after all someone's life is also at stake. It is not that, you know, these are all circumstantial evidence are also involved, and moreover the witness also gave one witness, he is the victim's friend also gave evidence against that person. So all these things were clearly suggesting that incident. So therefore, I think that it was wrong on the part of the prosecutor to wait it for so long, and thereafter waited for them to, you know, file the review for say about so many days. So it was the lapses, there are certain lapses here and there that should have been plugged.
Now, Nonibala, you know, we all know the gruesome incident. We all know of the gruesome incident. Despite this, there has been character assassination of the victim. Questions have been raised. The lawyers, the defense lawyers, saying, what was she doing out on the streets at night at 12? What was she doing out? Where were her parents then? Why didn't they inquire where their daughter was? What does this signify, and does that speak volumes of the mindset that we have? And unless that mindset goes, nothing is going to change. It's sad, but we have to say that there may be many more Nirbhayas unless that mindset changes.
Exactly, that's what I said, that death penalty is not the solution. That's what we feel, because the patriarchy has to be killed. Something has to be done essentially to kill the patriarchy in everyone's mind. And I think, like as I also said, that we need to change our mindset. Many Nirbhayas are there many Nirbhayas are there, I repeat, because the judiciary, the whole process of service delivery systems takes lots of time, and that's why many people, many Nirbhayas are still yet to come out, and they are yet to complain. And why? Because as many, like there are, like the whole system needs a sincere effort by the government and by the society, and by every stakeholder. It's not, I'm not going to blame the government alone. I'm going to, like, what I understand is I have been working in this issue for some quite time, that every one of us needs an involvement in ending this kind of crime, because it starts from the family as well. Why we are encouraging our children to go for such a kind of heinous crime? It's all because of whole issue of patriarchy. So, like killing 4 rapists, another 5 rapists, that may, some people, the victim family may think that this is a justice, but this is not going to solve the issue of patriarchy in the country, in the global scenario. Because look for, like, when we say that justice delivery is that in Manipur, for instance, we have, as per the Ministry of Home Department, in 2020, we have around 271 rape cases. Out of this, only 58 are charge seated. Out of these 58 are rape cases, and 28 are charge seated. This is the worst case in India. So, like, why rape happens, why women, the victim blaming and the questioning of the character of women is not a first case, because every time, every person in our country has a habit of blaming the victim, why women are going out in the night. But why men are out in the night is nobody questions that. Why men should, how men should behave in the night, how men should behave in the night when they meet a lone girl. This question never raised. That is the whole issue.
Point taken, Mr. Rahman. Point taken. Mr. Rahman, you know, what is the biggest obstacle, according to you, when it comes to fast tracking a rape case? What are the various challenges that probably the police, the law enforcers face, taking it forward in a way that it should be? What has stopped them from doing so?
For matters like rape cases or murder cases, the most important part is investigation. So, investigation has to be done in a very scientific manner. So, there are lots of obstacles and hurdles while doing investigation based on scientific evidence, because you have to send those evidence to the forensic labs, and those labs, they are very infrastructure, as far as the infrastructures are concerned, those labs are very limited in our country. So, government first has to ponder about this thing, that they have to establish more forensic labs. That is first. Secondly, the police has to be segregated from the political influences, because this matter, most of the accused, they belong to the poor strata of society, but there are cases where many accused people, they belonging to the high and mighty layers of the society. So, when those people are involved, then political influences or clouds are also tried to imposed upon this police. So, in that scenario, it is very difficult to for the police personnel to investigate the matters in an independent manner without any fear or favor. So, therefore, this investigation has to be segregated from the the political leadership. That is another aspect. Then there are many reports. For example, in fact, in Supreme Court, there is this PIL file by one IPS officer, retired IPS officer, Prakash Kumar. So, that on that basis there are many recommendations were given, but all these recommendations are also not implemented in the proper manner. Then moreover, as far as this particular case is concerned, the government has established or formed a particular committee under the retired judge Justice Verma. So, Verma committee also recommended lots of things, lots of things were recommended, but government in a way they they took some recommendations seriously, but most of the recommendations are not implemented in letter and spirit. So therefore, all these things are to be taken care of if the loopholes
clearly
are
a long way to go. Clearly a long way to go.
Absolutely.
Nonibala, my last question to you. We're running out of time. My last question to you, as a rights activist, as a women's rights activist, do you think increased participation of women and increased involvement and presence of women in the legislature, bureaucracy, judiciary will help improve things?
Yes, definitely, because women's participation is very much important in all the spheres, because we very much feel that the whole thing happening, what is happening in the society is so much bias, and we are lacking women in every sphere, because in terms of law enforcing agency, in terms of judiciary, in terms of legislature, women definitely needs to be there. And if we have women's representation in all these authorities, in all these stakes, we may be able to address the issues of crime against women. Otherwise, if we look into the judiciary, again, we have very limited numbers of women. And also, we heard from time to time that judiciaries and the law enforcing agencies are most of them are very male-dominated community, I mean like stakes. So it's very important for women to enter into this area.
Definitely, probably women have to stand up for themselves. The last comments, Mr. Burhanur Rahman.
Yeah, as far as the rape thing is concerned, then I think that the capital punishment is not the only answer, because by killing an accused, you can just kill that rapist. You cannot
kill the
kill the whole rape culture. For changing the whole thing or the whole scenario, the attitude, the change in the attitude of that person is very important, and that will of course start from your home. Then in your school, the education related to say the sex education, etc., is to be given, and thereafter all the male, they should be sensitized in that manner that they should be sensitive enough to appreciate the problems that the fellow female people facing in the street. So all these things, it's a long run process, it's a wholesome process that is to be followed, and this is a process that needs the help from all the stakeholders. So it's a long run process, I would
Definitely coordinated effort required, but nevertheless justice served, we can say, today after 7 long years, and we hope there is no repeat of such cases. One thing is certain, the police has to deliver, the judiciary has to deliver, and all that has to be on time. There is something that may stop a few from taking such steps. On that note, we will end this discussion, but we'll take a very short break here. Don't go anywhere. On the other side, we'll take all the coronavirus update from the region. Thank you so much, Mr. Burhanur Rahman and Nonibala, for joining us on this discussion. Hello and welcome to Debate 2 of The Bottom Line, a show that gets to the base of the key issues that have created news in the last 24 hours or less. Whereas the region continues to step up measures against the spread of coronavirus, one thing that governments are also getting increasingly worried about is the economic side of things. How to secure the cause of daily wage earners and others whose livelihoods depend a lot on market-related activities. How to ensure that there is no crisis of essential items. As such, state governments in the region are increasingly reassuring people that there will be no problems whatsoever as far as essential services and items are concerned. But how challenging would that be in the days to come? Before we embark on that discussion, let's take a look at what Assam Health Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma had to say on the latest measures adopted in the state.
Assam government steps up preparedness to combat COVID-19 outbreak. As many as 4 COVID-19 testing laboratories have been set up across Assam. These testing labs have been set up at the Guwahati Medical College, Regional Medical Research Centre in Dibrugarh, Silchar Medical College and Jorhat Medical College. Urging people not to panic, Assam Health Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma informed that over 70,000 people have been screened across the state and over 1,000 persons were placed under home quarantine. Himanta Biswa Sharma also informed that over 16,000 people have been screened at the LGBI airport in Guwahati. Moreover, screening of passengers is also on at all the entry points of the state.
As of now, we are increasing testing laboratory and we are testing any people who is showing even slightest symptom. Continuous testing at 4 testing sites. No positive case has so far been identified in Assam. In government office, only 50% employees come on rotational basis. We have also said that in our buses, there will be no standing passenger. We have also said that in every commercial shop, establishment, hand washing facility should be installed. Hand stamping will start from day after tomorrow for the people who is coming from outside the state. So we are alive to the situation. Our people are working day and night and we will do everything at our command to see that corona doesn't spread in our state.
Moreover, the Assam government has decided to postpone all examinations in the state till March 31st.
All types of examination is then postponed till 31st. Health department has assumed that authority that our instruction has to be followed without any question. So under the Epidemic Act, we have already notified. So all exam, all type of exam will stand postponed. Any authority, jodi koribo chesta kore, government will deal them with firm hand.
Meanwhile, Assam Health Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma has also urged the people of Assam to abide by Prime Minister Narendra Modi's call on Janata curfew and stay indoors on Sunday, that is March 22nd. He also highlighted the efforts undertaken to fight back coronavirus outbreak under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi.
Prime Minister has asked for voluntary contribution, voluntary cooperation. As party, we have already announced that people should cooperate with the appeal made by the Prime Minister. As you know, once Prime Minister has made that appeal, I am sure that on 22nd, total Janata curfew will be there in the state of Assam. I have that faith and I think that announcement has already created a big awareness. The awareness level had received quantum jump from yesterday's evening. And in Assam, it will be followed in letter and spirit.
Meanwhile, district administrations of 4 districts in Assam, Dibrugarh, Borpeta, Hailakandi and Kachar have imposed Section 144 as a preventive measure to tackle COVID-19. Imposition of Section 144 restricts gathering of 5 or more persons in the state. With video journalist Brozen, Joydeep Hazarika report for Northeast Live.
So clearly the preventive measures are being stepped up with every passing day. All the respective state governments are doing quite well. Awareness programs seem to be on track, and thankfully, above all, there has been no positive case of coronavirus in the Northeast as yet. Screenings have been intensified in railway stations, especially in Assam, and of course airports. Close to 80,000 people have been screened in Assam itself. 57 samples that were tested from Assam have tested negative. The state has 4 testing centers. Samples from other parts of the northeast had also been tested, and thankfully all have tested negative. What we would also focus also in this discussion is in case, for instance, Sunday there is a Janata curfew by the people, for the people. The Prime Minister has appealed everyone to stay indoors. In case, God forbid, the situation deteriorates, in case there's a spread, and in case we have a lockdown for 3-4 days, are the northeast states also gearing for that kind of a situation? Because in such cases, the daily wage earners, the livelihoods of many will be at stake, and how to tackle that kind of a situation. Coronavirus impact, mind you, has its impact on the health front as much as it has on the economic front as well. To carry the discussion forward, I'm being joined from Shillong by John Kharsing, Chairman of the Grand Council of Chiefs, Meghalaya. And our Manipur Bureau Chief Sharat Chandra will also join us live from Imphal. In course of the discussion, we'll also be joined up the phone by Isaac Zoramsanga, our Aizawl correspondent. If I can go to John Kharsing first. Mr. Kharsing, see, we have had doctors in our shows earlier this week who have been talking constantly about the symptoms and when we should be worried and what are the do's and don'ts. The question that we would ask you, since you are leading the Grand Council of Chiefs, Meghalaya, of course, has a lot of traditional bodies. These traditional bodies come under the Grand Council of Chiefs. Is all this information that is being disseminated, the awareness, is it trickling down to rural Meghalaya? Is it trickling down to the community? That is the question we are asking you, because that is important. You know, the urban area, Shillong, Jowai, Tura, that is fine, but Meghalaya also has a vast rural area. It's very important that this kind of information reaches these parts, because people are traveling from all over. Our youths from Shillong are outside. Some of them are traveling back. They will be going back to the respective villages. So is the information trickling down?
Yeah, it's at an initial stage, so it takes time, you know. So as community leaders, we are also trying our best as community leaders now to go public, and I've just made an appeal in the local language, so that, you know, because I did get calls yesterday and day before, people still inquiring whether this is serious enough or not, you know, to get into all this. So we are trying to emphasize the gravity of the situation, that globally, you know, and so we have also mentioned, brought out a statement today, urging all the traditional heads to take this matter seriously, because, you know, this is not politics. You know, this is about life and death, and you know, all this detail is available on the website of WHO, which is the credible authority on matters like this. And from their website and the website of Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, USA, the figures are really, I mean, the figures are really scary, the way it has spread, and the number of people, you know, around. Till yesterday, the figures are that over 244,000 people globally have been affected, out of which around 80,000 people alone in China. We all know the story about China. And it spiked up from 10,000 to 40,000 in Italy in just few days. And also, of course, about 86,000, over 86,000 people have recovered. Okay, that's another good sign. But, you know, the sad part is around 10,000 people have died. And many more are still in the recovery mode. So we feel that we are trying to emphasize the gravity of this situation, and we've also urged on all the traditional heads, especially we've urged the students of Meghalaya, all those students or you know, people working. There are a lot of our children working outside the state, and they have been returning up to the state, returning back because the colleges, universities have shut. And we are trying to emphasize the importance of them reporting their return as advised by the government to 108, which is the health department number. Reason being is, you know, once they report, then government has a count, government has a kind of a data by which they can monitor, or they can at least, you know the status of, especially those coming from the states which are already affected. We have, I think, if I'm not mistaken, about 8 states in India which are already having it. I don't know what are the latest, but Maharashtra, couple of
Spread
states,
all over,
Maharashtra,
yes.
Bengal, UP, Kerala, these states
Odisha
have already
too. Yeah.
all been affected by this problem. So it is a serious business right now, and we're just trying to emphasize in the local language, in the local media.
Yeah, that's very important.
That
Yeah.
And I can understand why the government is taking this matter in this mode. I mean, it's unheard. I think it's probably the first time in the country that we have a prime minister in office calling for a Janata curfew.
Yes.
It's never been heard.
Yes, first.
So I guess we have to read between the lines and understand the seriousness by which the government of India is viewing this problem. Basically, it is the scale at which this thing could spread is what is of most concern. From my little bit of research, I find that in the internet that they say that in India we have only about a total estimated 70,000 ICU beds. And we all know, I mean, when you go to ICU is where you need the ventilators. So we are a 1 billion population. Can you imagine? It's pretty scary.
That's why it's more important that
we
the
have
awareness.
only about 70,000 ICU beds. I don't know how
Absolutely.
many
That's
beds,
why.
ICU
That's why
beds we
it's
have.
more important that the awareness trickles down. Yeah. If I can go to Sharat Chandra now, Sharat, the Manipur government is mulling imposition of Section 144 across state, clearly taking things very seriously. What is the latest that you have?
Yeah, Nabarun, so far as this mass awareness campaign is concerned, in Manipur it is very, in a very large measure, in a very large way it is coming up. And very latest development in Manipur is by Mode Department, all these market areas of the Imphal city comes under Mode Department, and Mode Department have already given an order for a total shutdown. Busiest market, Imam Market, at the heart of the city will remain shut from 21st of this month till 25th March 2020.
Okay.
It is around about 5-day total shutdown will take place at the busiest Imam Market from 21st of March. At the same time, people are welcoming.
That's breaking news. That's breaking news. Imam Market to be shut from the 21st of March. Yeah, go ahead,
21st of March to this 25th of March, 25th of March. At the same time, voluntarily, all the vendors of the Imam Market, we are rounding up the figure of the Imam Market. Strength is around 3,000 women vendor from the 3 markets set at the Imam Market. They have voluntarily decided to remain shut the whole Imam Market area. It's a very crowded area. They voluntarily announced that the market will remain shut for 3 weeks. That starts from tomorrow. That is the 21st March. It will start, and 3 weeks, till 3 weeks, this voluntarily shut down of the Imam Market will go for straight 3 weeks. At the same time, many of the individuals and the Health Services Authority, they are also welcoming the Prime Minister decision for this Janata curfew that is on 22nd March starting from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. People are welcoming, and this is the only way, this is the best remedy to stop the spreading of coronavirus. Distancing, social distancing is the best way.
But Sharat, again, the shutting down, it may be voluntary, but the shutting down of the Imam Market for 3 weeks, does that affect the supply of essential to the locals? Will that have an impact on that? Is that also been looked into?
You see, Nabarun, so far as the selling process at the Imam Market is a very close contact selling. They always check with the seller and buyers always comes into a very close contact. This is the only reason that the Mode Department instructed this Imam Market said to remain set from the 21st March to 25th March in the Imam market. Imam market is not only in the Imphal city. Imphal city do have the 3 Imam markets, which is the busiest market in Manipur. At the same time, all districts also do have the Imam market set. So according to the, as per the order from the Mode Department, all the markets, Imam markets set across the state will remain set from 21st March to 25th March. At the same time, the Imam market, precisely looking into the Imam market, busiest market at the heart of the city, they voluntarily decided to remain closed from 21st March to, it will go for 3 weeks. This is a voluntary decision taken by the strong vendors from the Imam market, Nabarun.
And Sharath, my last question to you, Sharath, is there any decision so far on imposition of Section 144 across the state?
Yeah, exactly, Navarun. This is also a question, big question that yes, that so far as Imam market is concerned, this is the day-to-day selling market where all the green vegetables are available. Yes, the closing down, shutting down of the Imam market at the heart of the city, busiest market, for around 1 week, it will create a problem. But at the same time, distancing, social distancing, mass gathering, reducing of mass gathering is concerned. Yes, although people have to bear a lot of difficulties, but at the same time,
yes, that
social
is there,
Sharath, shutting down social distance can create.
That is there. What I'm asking is that will Section 144 be imposed across the state? Is that coming? Is that decision coming? Any chance of that happening? There were talks that might happen. Section 144 may be imposed in the entire state to prevent gathering of more than 5 persons at one place. Is that happening?
Nabarun, as of now, no. Yes, as of now, no. But yes, in case of reducing, authority want to reduce the mass gathering. Yes, such kind of this 144, imposing of 144, which prohibits the gathering of more than 5 persons. I think it may impose. I am not sure. But as of now, there is no plan. But in the later to come, we can say.
Okay, Sharath, thank you so much for all those updates. And Imam market, of course, closing for 5 days from the 21st of March. If I can go to John Khashing in Shillong. Mr. Khashing, what we have to understand here is that the impact of coronavirus is as much on the health front as it is on the economy. So in case, say in the Northeast, say in Meghalaya, for instance, in case we are forced to have a lockdown for even 2 to 3 days, God forbid, that should never happen. But in case that happens, are we as a state, as the district administration, are we preparing for it?
Yeah, in fact, I've made an appeal just now also to all the traditional heads to try and, compile the census. Most of them have the village census, one is to find out, how many of the citizens in their localities are daily wage earners.
Yes.
But dependent from, hand to mouth. Because as you rightly said, you all see, I mean, this tragedy has caused the Sensex to crash, the market to crash. People are getting laid off. I know of a lot of people getting laid off. You are right. The other challenge is that the scientists worldwide have said that this situation could prevail probably for even about 18 months. For 18 months, which means a year and a half. So we don't know. We don't know. Of course, the Prime Minister of UK, on the flip side, the Prime Minister of UK is saying that they'll be able to deal with this matter within 3 months. But scientists, from what I've been reading on the internet, are saying that this matter could prolong to over 18 months. So till they find a remedy for this. So yes, there is a serious challenge on how this is like disaster management, right? So what economic roadmap? So I've been urging through an appeal today, urging the traditional heads to ensure they have a census of the information of how many people of this nature in their villages, and then interact with the government, with the block level administration or the deputy commissioners, to figure out and prepare a roadmap for this. Because if it prolongs, like you said, and from what I understand, it is likely to prolong, because this
Absolutely, it's very important. It's very important. What you said is very important to have a roadmap forward. My last question to you, John Cushing. See, it's not possible. It's not possible for the government, for the district administration to shut down all the major markets. For instance, in Shillong, we cannot shut down the Bada Bazaar market or some of the big locality markets. But can something be worked out in coordination with the local darbars to have a limited number of people entering the market at any point of time? And also, what is your impression of the precautionary measures in place in Shillong right now?
Well, in my recent communication to the Honorable Chief Minister, Conrad Sangma, I had sent a few suggestions. One of which is, they should immediately activate which they have done, I guess, disaster management, task force and all that, In our areas, we have around 50 large and small markets, the traditional markets here. It's not a typical mall, so entry access is open from all sides. I would again request the government to talk to the CAMs, the Lingdo, or whoever are the custodians of these markets to regulate the activity there. One such formula, I know it's a challenge, but one such formula would be, our typical Yodo here has different sections. The cloth market, for instance. So, okay, can they do it by rotation? For example, the urgency of a cloth, I don't see that there's right away an urgency for, the cloth market. I mean, unless if it's essential commodities. So something like that. There are various categories of section within the market. Did you also have a market association? So I guess they should have these discussions very quickly, so that they have a roadmap in place, and I guess, you see, extraordinary times require extraordinary measures. It could be uncomfortable. So I'm appealing to the people, to the citizens also. It could be uncomfortable. It could be unpleasant. Prime Minister has called, I think there were some comments on the WhatsApp. Why he called it on a Sunday? It's not about Sunday, it's not about anything, it's about life and death. So we are appealing to everybody to kindly cooperate and ensure that whatever the state government has called for tomorrow from tonight, closure of certain commercial other establishments. They have brought down the number of staff that should report. They've ordered a rooster kind of a thing. So these things are measures to contain the spread.
Absolutely. These times need drastic measures. One very good point that you have made is that probably in a big market like Udo, they can have markets on rotational basis. The fish market can be open on a day, the next day for the vegetable market. The cloth market, for instance, as you said, is not an essential item right now. Probably that can reduce a bit of a crowd if you can have that part shut. But of course, the district administration will be taking these calls. Thank you so much, Mr. John Cushing, for your precious time. Thank you so much, Sharat Chandra. Well, one thing is for sure, the governments in the northeast states are doing all they can to prevent the possible outbreak of the COVID-19, and we are keeping our fingers crossed. That's a wrap of Bottom Line.